Well, well, well. Hello, hello. How's everyone doing this Saturday night, evening? I'm feeling a lot better. In case nobody knew, I've been getting over a cold for the past week, so it really hit me hard. So I'm kind of excited to finally be able to talk about, Godzilla and stuff. So it's gonna be a very interesting stream. I usually, when I do these deciding the ultimate winner videos, I just, take my time, edit things together. I'll write a script and I'll try and, do my due diligence and such, research the characters and whatever. But I thought, let's just go for it. Now, that doesn't mean I haven't done research. I have a lot of I'd say picture evidence. I've done a lot of calculations. I mean, I think you're gonna be pretty impressed by what I have in store today. But yeah, so today's subject will be Godzilla versus Hulk, deciding the ultimate winner. And this is mainly due to the fact that I'm super pumped about Godzilla and the Marvel Universe having a second go. It's been decades since they last crossed paths. They last went to war, and now we're gonna see Godzilla meet the modern Marvel Universe, and we're gonna see it's gonna go down. I mean, I'm gonna go over, I think what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna be discussing first the Godzilla vs. Marvel news, help people get up to speed in case you missed the news or you'd like to know what to expect. And then I'm going to get into, the main focus tonight, which is pretty much Godzilla vs. Hulk. Who do I think would win? And then finally, who do I think will win in the upcoming crossover? So yeah, I say let's get going here. So let's go over some topics. So the topic timeline, I'm going to be going over the recent news, like I just said, regarding Godzilla invading Marvel. I'm going to read out kind of like the recent news, all the updates and such. It's going to be a good time. Of course, Godzilla's versus Hulk's. Now you might be thinking, wait a minute, I thought this is just Godzilla versus Hulk, and it is, but I thought one of the best ways when it comes to figuring out who do I think would win is pitting different Godzilla variants up against different Hulk variants, and I think that'll be a lot of fun instead of just parsing through, the best feats from Godzilla and the best ones from Hulk. I feel like different variants kind of bring a lot to the table, increase our overall understanding and such, and I think that's the best approach here. And then of course, who will win? I'm going to go over who I think will win in the finale, in the upcoming crossover. But yeah, there's a lot to go over. And Mendigo, been a while since I dropped in and said hi. Still very much loving your content, good sir. Man, thank you so much. I very much appreciate that, and thank you for coming in. Yeah, so this is normally I do like VFX breakdown streams and such, but today's stream in particular is going to be a lot of it's going to be a doozy. You're going to see me geek out, guys. I'm not going to hold back. There's going to be a lot to go on. So anyone interested in power ranking, power scaling, fantasy battles, all that, this is going to be for you. First, let's go over the recent news. Why do I think Godzilla and the Marvel Universe Round 2 is so awesome? Well, you know what? It's been 40 years since they last crossed over, and there's been many changes, not just for Godzilla, but for Marvel, the universe, Marvel characters. There's been so many different storylines, big events that, man, it would be nice to see just how Marvel would fare against Godzilla nowadays, and what they're gonna be doing here in just a sec. So from what I understand, everything kicks off in March of this year, 2025. Godzilla and the Fantastic Four, they're actually they're at bat. So we're going to see Godzilla meet the Fantastic Four, which they did back in the 1970s. But again, a lot's changed, but the difference here is their reunion is going to be threatened by Galactus and his new herald, King Ghidorah. I'm wowed. I'm sold. I mean, I love me some Galactus, so I'm hoping we get to see Godzilla and Galactus throw down, but making King Ghidorah your herald, probably not a good idea, but then again, Galactus has made many mistakes. And then we finally find out, first and foremost, Godzilla vs. Hulk and Godzilla vs. Spider-Man are set to release in April. Now, of course, Godzilla vs. Hulk, I'm all excited about that. It's pretty much why I made this big video and prepared this stream. Godzilla vs. Spider-Man, I think, has a lot of potential for a lot of fun, and I think it would be hilarious if Spider-Man somehow won. It's not the first time Spider-Man, by the way, has overcome great, impossible odds. And just recently, Godzilla vs. X-Men, so that's really cool. In my recent Godzilla Marvel video, I would love to see Godzilla go up against, say, Thor, which you're gonna, that's my next pick. I'm kind of hoping he's next, but I'm guessing it's gonna be Avengers. But I really would be more excited now, the more I've thought about it, to see Godzilla square off against, like, Storm, who's really starting to rise in the Marvel pantheon. I think there are great things ahead. This new series has been described as being a 6-issue miniseries. It's going to take place throughout different eras. That's really interesting because, well, for starters, both Godzilla and Marvel have, era galore. I mean, they've been around for a very, very long time. Godzilla since the 1950s, and I think Marvel started during the 1960s. So there's a lot of space here. And I'm kind of wondering, I thought about, because they're using different versions of Godzilla. We've seen different versions on every cover that's been released. I'm beginning to wonder if that means, that could be a subtle clue of which Godzilla they're going to use for that respective story. I mean, I think the X-Men one that was recently released shows Heisei Godzilla on the cover. So is he going to, like, square off against the X-Men during the 90s? Will that tie in with the recent X-Men 97 show, which is amazing? Or not? Or they may be different eras in the Marvel Universe timeline itself. Like, it could be a combination of both. But I suspect we're getting more than 6 issues. That's right. Maybe you heard it from me first. But when big events happen in Marvel Comics, there's usually a 6-issue main story followed by additional tie-ins. And of course, Godzilla vs. Hulk and Godzilla vs. Spider-Man each have an issue 1 associated with them. So has the X-Men. So I'm just really wondering if that's a sign that we're going to see potentially more here. I mean, given how Godzilla and DC Comics, they're gearing up for round 2 this summer. Godzilla fought the Justice League last year, which was great. I really would not be surprised if we see more Godzilla Marvel in the not too distant future. And now we're going to get one last thing I put here because I couldn't help it. So Avengers X Ultraman will be concluding soon. I've been providing coverage on that. I've been loving it. It's really fun. I mean, it's marvelous storytelling. The art's great, and there's a lot of things going down there. And I believe 100% Godzilla Ultraman crossing over seems more likely now than ever, just given all these crossovers we've been getting. I mean, Godzilla crossing over with, like, Power Rangers, DC. I mean, Godzilla vs. Kong, the ultimate kaiju crossover, has been such a great success. So don't be surprised if we start seeing more of that. Okay, so time for business, right? Here we go. So I thought I would talk about this because I've noticed some of you have mentioned that you're really happy to see Godzilla vs. Hulk because, they fought before, right? This is a rematch, right? Wrong. So you might be familiar with this photo. I'm kind of blocking it here, but more or less you could see Godzilla walking away, giving that kind of Grinch look. He kind of looks like the Grinch. And basically what we see here is he just stomped on Hulk, and Hulk is clearly just beaten, talking smack. and many Godzilla fans, and I did this for years. I thought, ooh, Marvel Godzilla, he's so much stronger than Hulk. Look how he showed him. So this is nothing more than an editorial photo. That means it didn't actually happen in the story. I mean, you could tell because Godzilla's design here is also way different. Guys, this was all played for laughs. It's not meant to be taken at face value, but of course, Godzilla fans, yeah, we can't help it, man. We see Godzilla stomp some other strong character, we're gonna milk that, right? Not to mention it's contradicted. Like, even if it were legit, I mean, it's just contradicted by the fact that Godzilla fared rather well against Thor and Hercules. I mean, he seemed to have a slight advantage over those two, and both of those characters are basically on par with Hulk during this timeline. So, anyways, it's not canon, but I'm happy that you guys are excited anyway. I mean, you should be. Because this right here, Godzilla versus Hulk, that's the end game. Am I right? It's gonna be fun. Excuse me. So, got my Thor little hammer mug. I'm all ready for you guys. So, let's go through. Let's take a look at the card tonight. We have Godzilla -1 taking on Hulk from the MCU. I'm going to be talking about Evolved Godzilla from Legendary taking on the new Mega Hulk from the MCU. He's from the new Marvel What If series that I believe has recently concluded, sadly. Godzilla from the IDW comics. This is the main IDW Godzilla. In other words, from the Kingdom of Monsters series, ongoing, Rulers of Earth, that Godzilla. And he's going to be taking on Hulk from 616. And then we're going to have Godzilla, who just recently crossed over with DC. I'm just calling him Godzilla DC for short. He's taking on Hulk, the Fractured Sun version. Basically Hulk 616, but current one. And there's a huge difference, which I'll get into. Finally, we're going to see the strongest versions of Godzilla take on the strongest variant of Hulk. We're going to see Godzilla in Hell take on Immortal Hulk, aka the Breaker of Worlds. Saving the best for last, of course. Alright, so since I'm talking about fictional characters, power levels, and stuff, I kind of feel like I need to go over a couple ground rules here. I know. It's got to be done, guys. We have to do this. First and foremost, we keep things civil. That goes, of course, for me. I understand I'm the one chatting, so if anyone decides they want to argue with me, great. I welcome it. I welcome pretty much any sort of discourse as long as we're being civil and respectful. I understand I control the conversation, so I'll do my best to be fair, of course, and I will read it, what you have to say out loud, and I'm not going to, act like it's, that your stance isn't as valid as mine. It absolutely is. Just remember, these are fictional characters. I know that should be a given, but these are fictional characters that, from a fictional universe governed by fictional physics. I mean, this is not an exact science, and we all know why, and I'll tackle that in a sec. But empirical feats are top priority. If it's on screen, your feats are clean. Another way of pointing that out is basically, guys, I'm more like, did it happen? Did you see it happen? Okay, cool, let's talk about it. But if you heard it from somewhere, then chances are we're gonna disagree. Stats, novels, guidebooks are secondary evidence only if they don't contradict the empirical feats. Seems pretty straightforward. Consistency, contextual, and understanding. Let me rephrase. Consistency, contextual understanding, and power scaling are relevant, but we might need to, specify what some of that means if necessary. I did put here, I disagree with the Versus Battle Wiki tiering system because I notice in the past some people like to throw out tiering ranks that are based on a character's alleged attack potency, saying like, oh, they're hyperversal, universal, or planetary, or a bunch of things that to me just you're gonna get lost in the weeds, man. We're not gonna go anywhere. We need to like zero in on, you know, what's the evidence and go from there. Try not to think about, you know, tier where to place this character until we've done our due diligence, you know, until we researched that character and see and then verified it, challenged it, you know. Writers, studios rightfully don't care about power levels. I know this is a tough one because, you know, who wins? Well, whoever the writer decides. That is true. We are all pretty much at the whims of someone who genuinely does not really care about this sort of thing. The sooner we accept that, the sooner we can move on and have a good time. Official sources are valid unless contradicted. For example, stats, like if someone states, like Toho's like Gorosaurus is 30 meters tall, but then in Destroy All Monsters he's Godzilla's eye level, who's 50 meters. Well, we're gonna, on-screen evidence takes priority. This next one probably deserves its own video, but I need to become a better editor and think about a better way to, you know, pitch this. But Word of God is BS. I mean the Word of God trope, by the way. Creators make mistakes like the rest of us. Just because they made the story doesn't mean their word is objective. It doesn't mean it's law. It doesn't mean it's final, especially when we're talking about Godzilla, who's not really technically owned by a single person. It's an entity, Toho, and they have a lot of rules, but even still, I think they make mistakes. They're not always correct. And I understand sometimes, you know, we might all be divided. Maybe we're at a, you know, we're at a point where nobody's budging and we can't make up our minds. So it would be nice if the creator could step in and just give us, you know, the answer to some mystery or something, and that's fine. But don't put them on a infallible pedestal, okay? Oh, and the reason why, and I'm tying this all together here, unfaithful actors ask leading questions and receive hyperbolic answers. I'm going to touch upon this later, but basically there are some fans in this sort of community that, you know, take these power discussions to a whole new level of hysterics. They'll literally seek out the writers, the creators of, you know, some of these projects and ask them loaded questions or calibrated questions like, you know, hey, how powerful would this attack be? Is it like as strong as a nuke? And maybe the creator will be like, yeah, I guess, sure, why not? But again, the writers aren't thinking about power levels, and there's a chance they haven't even worked on this. You know, they stopped working on this project for years and they moved on. So I don't like these out of the nowhere question Q&As suddenly becoming tantamount to the gospel, or like, you know what I mean, like scripture or something. It's not. Again, if it's not on screen, it's not worth it. But anyway, about me. So before becoming a big shot YouTuber, I debated with other Godzilla nerds under the internet alias Tomzilla. It's been a while. I spent many hours debating fantasy battles, power levels, feats, etc. But I'm not saying that as a brag or like, hey, I know what I'm talking about, fall in line or anything. I am just as well, flawed as anyone, really. There's a lot I don't know, and I've been wrong many times. I'm just saying I've learned the hard way to accept what these are. It's best to have fun. As I've said in the past, it's okay to take things seriously, just don't take it personally. This is supposed to be fun, and it's why I'm doing this. It's going to be great, but also doing these sort of things really helped me appreciate the kaiju genre even more. I mean, I enjoy watching movies and then later on going back and just being like, ooh, that was a pretty cool attack. How strong do you think that could be? It's a fun discussion if you know how to have fun, you know, if you know how to, you know, learn that, okay, this isn't like real world stuff. Just remember that. Oh, and shout out to anyone who's debated me in the past. Not sure if you're gonna ever watch this, but hey, I respect you and thank you for all the fun times we had. Okay. Look, big monster. Ooh. Oh, sorry. That was a mistake. Alright, so our first big face-off today. We got Godzilla -1 taking on Hulk from the MCU. Okay, we're going to be starting with Godzilla first here. And Godzilla, we're going to start with a bang. His heat beam, it is considered by many, and I would have to agree, to be one of, if not the most powerful live-action Godzilla heat beam yet. I don't think it takes the top spot for me personally, but it is a devastating attack, and it's something that Hulk will want to avoid at all cost. He does not want to get hit by this beam. Point blank, it will destroy him along with whatever city they're fighting in. As we can see, Godzilla's beam begins to destabilize everything around it. This could be due to a number of factors. It could be heat related. It could be unleashing great force. Either way, even if Hulk is not hit directly by this beam, it could still blast him back, potentially hurt him for, well, permanently, to the point where he might revert back to Bruce Banner, which in turn makes him way more fragile. More on that in a moment. When Godzilla's beam does strike, I've seen calculations that place it around as low as maybe 20-30 kilotons, which is a little bit stronger than the bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima, or as high as 1 megaton. Me personally, I think it's somewhere in the half megaton for 500 kiloton range. Like I said, it's enough to definitely kill the Hulk, so Hulk wants to avoid that. It does come at a huge cost to Godzilla, however. You can see that he is terribly injured. His body just looks like he's suffered 2 second or third degree burns here. And of course his energy is tapped, so he's not going to be able to fire his primary weapon. So if he happened to miss the first time and Hulk is well out of reach, then it's going to be pretty hard for Godzilla to get another shot. But he's durable, he's tough enough to maybe have 1 or 2 more tries after this. Still, the injuries are pretty horrific. As we can see, Godzilla is usually always in serious pain. As I will discuss in just a second, his healing factor is pretty advanced, but it's not perfect. Let's discuss about that in a second. But I do want to point out that Godzilla here, he's not as super durable as his counterparts. For despite possessing arguably the most powerful heat beam out of all live action Godzillas, he is definitely not the most durable. I mean, here naval barrage is able to briefly stun him and take him down. He does recover within like several seconds from this, but I gotta say, even though there's no shame in like surviving a naval bombardment, but when it comes to kaiju, it's really not that impressive. I mean, Godzillasaurus, or at least the Heisei variant one, was able to stand up to a naval bombardment for quite a while. So I don't want to be that guy, but there's a big chance that Godzillasaurus and Godzilla -1 are they have comparable levels of durability. I mean, obviously -1 I think didn't really suffer visible injuries here, so I think he's more durable, but that bears mentioning. Talk about a mouthful, right? Here's Godzilla with a mine inside this mine is about to go off, and when it does, it literally takes out the left side of Godzilla's cheek. His jaws are blown open. He's lost his left eye. Some of his teeth have been destroyed. This actually took him out for about 30 to 45 seconds. And there's no shame in that, of course. No shame in having that. I mean, there's a chance a lot of Godzillas would definitely go down if they had a bomb go off inside their mouth. But this Godzilla is very unique. He was able to regenerate the damage within seconds. His teeth, his cheek, his eyes, everything. Although he still has this scar on his cheek and in other places, suggesting that perhaps his regeneration is not perfect. It's still pretty advanced, and it will become the strongest countermeasure against Hulk. Hulk smash, but he can't smash if what he's trying to smash keeps healing. Excuse me. So what we see here near the end of Godzilla -1, the humans, they release a rather clever plan where they try to drag Godzilla to the bottom of the ocean, where the water pressure will, in theory, crush him. But if it doesn't, then they will bring him rapidly up to the surface. It's called the bends, while exposing him to explosive decompression. And this is that combo on him, and it's really quite terrifying that Godzilla still managed to survive this, and it's very much likely, had he not been stopped by the protagonist of the story, he likely would have nuked everyone and then healed the damage, and his reign of terror would have continued. In terms of physical strength, since we don't see Godzilla go up against another kaiju, that, we're kind of left with just him, destroying, taking out buildings like they're nothing, which is still, when compared to, the Marvel characters, when compared to even Hulk, that's still more than enough. I'm not saying Godzilla in these shots is stronger than Hulk because he's able to tear apart entire city blocks within seconds. It's still something the Hulk should not underestimate. And here's another shot of Godzilla holding up trains. I mean, he's still just, he's got a massive size advantage and enough strength, I think, to, rival that of the Hulks. I'll be talking about who I think is stronger in a moment, but it's clear that Godzilla -1 is no slouch. Alright, well, it looks like Hulk is up and ready. He's winding up, so let's get into the strongest Avenger. I thought this was interesting. We all know about how in Avengers, arguably the most epic moment in the movie is when Hulk one punches a Leviathan Chitauri whale, and it's epic, it's incredible, and it leads up to the classic assemble moment. When asked about the weight of a Leviathan, the Avengers co-writer Zach Penn guessed that it weighed 3 million tons. I'm going to place the emphasis, let's do that. Emphasis placed on guessed, and it's mainly why I don't really take that at face value. I don't see that as an official stat. Not that Hulk really needs this in order to buffer up his strength feats. He's still formidable, as we will soon discover. But I do not take the 3 million ton comment at face value. I don't see it as an official confirmation. Regardless, it's still a very impressive strength feat. I mean, considering the fact that Hulk had to stop the Leviathan wasn't just, floating there. It was charging right at them. And Hulk managed to strike it with enough force that eventually he not only brought it to a crawl, but literally the poor thing's armor started busting open, cracking off, and he went down. And definitely a good way to start. It's a very impressive feat, and I feel like this in itself is more than enough proof that Hulk can definitely hurt Godzilla -1 here. This was taken from the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show. That's a vibranium wall that has Hulk's fist print in it. So Hulk managed to actually damage vibranium. Now, whether or not Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is considered canon or not, that's maybe left to another for another discussion. What matters here, though, is trying to first and foremost figure out how durable is vibranium. Well, it's so durable that when in Avengers Age of Ultron, Thor and Iron Man blew up Sokovia to prevent this. What happened was Ultron basically took the whole city for a ride, Sokovia, up into the sky, and his goal was to drop it on the Earth like a meteor, which should destroy the planet. But the Avengers stopped it. They managed to blow up the city. It had been evacuated, fortunately. And the reason why it was able to rise up in the first place is because Ultron used the vibranium at its core as a means of, essentially defying gravity. But with the city blown up, the vibranium started falling. And what's interesting here is the vibranium was completely undamaged. The amount of power it would take to disintegrate, just vaporize an entire city, even Sokovia, I mean, I don't think it's as big as most cities, but it's still pretty big place, all things considered. The amount of firepower that would take is definitely, you're looking in the nuclear yield area, and even that wasn't enough to damage vibranium. So the fact that Hulk could hurt vibranium, damage it, is pretty impressive. I mean, you're looking at an immensely strong guy, but like I said, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. might not be canon, but we know who is. It's the purple Mad Titan himself, Thanos. And Thanos here is just pulling the Mind Stone out of Vision. The thing is, Vision is made out of vibranium, and, Thanos popped his head open like it was nothing, and just, I think, he did this casually, which is very impressive. If Thanos can casually break apart vibranium like it's a cardboard or tissue paper, and that said tissue paper can, withstand our most powerful weapons, well, we're in for a world of hurt. Just ask Hulk here. Hulk was laid out, but even though you might be thinking, wait, aren't we supposed to be going over Hulk's impressive feats? Yes, we are, and I think it's super impressive that Hulk didn't die here. The fact that Hulk survived and healed tells me that, I think he could definitely hold up against the likes of Godzilla -1, at least in the physical department, and hand-to-hand combat for a while. Also, here's Hulk picking up a boulder and throwing it so fast into the sky, it looks like a meteor. Hulk not only staggered full power Surtur, he nearly jumped over him. According to the VFX artist, Surtur is roughly 800 meters tall in this shot. The Fire Giant's full height clocked in at around 4,000 meters near the end. The fact that Hulk nearly jumped over an 800 meter tall Surtur tells me Hulk can most certainly avoid the atomic beam, at least at first, and he can jump over Godzilla -1, and likely land on top of his face and start smashing. And, well, you thought that mine that went off in Godzilla Minus One's mouth was a lot, or a mouthful. Well, the Hulk is definitely, well, let's just say Godzilla's going to have to see a doctor after this. Finally, as far as durability goes, the fact that Hulk was able to snap and use all 6 Infinity Stones and survive is really crazy impressive. He did, of course, get his right arm horrendously burned, but the fact that he was able to do this and undo Thanos' snap from Infinity War, bringing back half of the universe, is extremely impressive. I mean, that's very good. Here's a question: would Godzilla's heat beam make Hulk stronger? Unlikely, since Godzilla's heat beam doesn't emit gamma radiation, which is the type of radiation Hulk absorbs, or at least the one in the MCU. This is the one that he seems to be more... it's the reason why he actually volunteered to, try and use the Infinity Stones, because they emitted gamma, which, Hulk is built literally to withstand. Alright, my verdict. It's surprisingly close. Hulk has a decent shot at winning multiple rounds if his banner side is in control, and he avoids Godzilla's heat beam. Godzilla wins instantly if his heat beam scores a direct hit, or if Hulk is caught within the near vicinity of its explosion. Being a byproduct of gamma radiation, there's a slim chance Hulk might absorb the radiation. As I just talked about, however, I don't think that would happen. With prep, Hulk would win due to his higher intelligence and access to cutting-edge tech complementing his superhuman abilities. Remember, currently Hulk now has both his vast superhuman strength and Banner's intellect. They're essentially the same person. Overall, Godzilla wins due to his regeneration, nullifying Hulk's attacks. Whatever damage Hulk inflicts, Godzilla is just going to heal anyway. And Godzilla, I think, scores a crippling hit. I think scoring a crippling hit is inevitable. I think his odds increase if Hulk turns into Banner as well. I think we could all agree Godzilla definitely wins in a fight against Bruce Banner. So, I think Godzilla minus wins. Godzilla minus 1 wins this first round, but it would be, of course, close. Okay, so I know some of you might be like, what about Legendary Godzilla? Well, Legendary Godzilla versus MCU Hulk isn't close, and here's why. In 2012's The Avengers, Hulk was jettisoned out of the SHIELD helicarrier, falling 30,000 feet. Hulk survived the impact, but reverted back into Bruce Banner using force equals mass times acceleration. Hulk's weight is estimated to be around 635 kilograms, times that of the acceleration, so Hulk's falling at an estimated around 86,436 meters per second squared. Just so you know, you might be thinking, wait a minute, 86,000 meters per second, that's like way more than 30,000 feet, right? Just remember, the pull of Earth's gravity will increase the object's descent. It will do so rapidly. All this means is Hulk hit with 5,600 tons of force on impact. 5,600 tons. Okay, 5,600 tons of force is enough to incapacitate the MCU Hulk. Folks, Legendary Godzilla is nearly 100,000 tons. Godzilla is literally one stomp away from ending Hulk's career. Next we have Evolved Godzilla taking on Mega Hulk. Mega Hulk comes from the recent Marvel What If series, where Hulk basically, like, what if Hulk becomes Godzilla, essentially. And he's taking on Evolved Godzilla, who we just saw in Godzilla Kong: The New Empire. Let's get to it. So first, to recap the episode, here's what happened. Bruce Banner thought that the best way to solve his Hulk problem was to expose himself to Gamma. He thought, wow, Gamma got me into this, turned me into the Hulk, maybe it can get me out. Wrong. So, as he's transforming into the Hulk, Bruce Banner hits himself with more gamma radiation. Now, you gotta love the logic of these scientists, of these geniuses, because, well, my dude, if gamma radiation turned a human, like a puny little human, into the Incredible Hulk, what's it gonna do when it hits the Incredible Hulk? Well, it's gonna split him into two different beings. One is the Hulk on the left, and Apex, the one on the right. Apex would rapidly grow into a giant kaiju-like being, and well, first, I love the design, but he would immediately rain terror and thus usher in the Gamma War. He did this by creating a Gamma Beast army. He could just literally shoot them out. He could spawn them, and he would spawn thousands. A single Gamma Beast is anywhere from 40 to 60 meters tall, and he spawned thousands of them. That's insane. A single Gamma Beast posed a significant threat, and not even the Avengers could take them, much less hold a prayer against Apex. So the Avengers, Earth's mightiest heroes, had to create mechas, or, Jaegers, I think it's just amazing that Thor, the god of thunder, needed to pilot a giant mecha. I really wish we got to see the Avengers, at least the original ones, in action, but they fell. Yeah, that's right, they lost. And you can kind of see why. So here's Apex leading an army of Gamma Beasts, and eventually the new Avengers and their mechas arrive, and pulling a Voltron, they come together to form the Mighty Avenger Mecha, and the Mighty Avenger Mecha takes out quite a number of Gamma Beasts on its own before concentrating all its firepower on Apex. And Apex not only tanks all this, he unleashes a gamma-like shockwave that completely knocks the Mighty Avenger Mecha off and shuts it down. I mean, it was over before it even started. But that's when Bruce Banner appears, and he happens to be sitting inside of, well, a nuke that's been retrofitted with a gamma core. Now, he's already been exposed to tremendous amounts of gamma. I mean, it's what brought Apex on in the first place. But what's going to happen when Bruce Banner turns into the Incredible Hulk and he gets hit by another gamma bomb? Well, first, it's going to make a big explosion, and here are the Gamma Beasts being blown back, and Apex actually survives this. That's right, Apex tanks a nuclear explosion to the face, and so does Bruce, so does the Hulk. Hulk tanks it and mutates into the Mega Hulk, and I want everyone to take a look at this. Take a look at the size, take a look at the scope. That's a massive impact crater, and you might be thinking, is it really? I mean, it's just the Hulk standing in the center. As you will soon discover, this is no normal, ordinary Hulk. This is the Mega Hulk. Here's a quick little size comparison. Here's Sam Wilson, and that big old eyeball belongs to the Mega Hulk. Here's another comparison here with Mega Hulk walking away into the sea, and on your left, and you can see the arrow pointing at him, is Sam Wilson again, just to give you some idea. So all this means you're looking at roughly 27 megatons, nearly twice Castle Bravo, which is what Legendary Godzilla tanked in Godzilla 2014. And yeah, this is a low ball estimate because with these calculations, they're all based on Mega Hulk and Apex being roughly 100 meters tall. So yeah, you're looking at just a huge durability feat. That's just, yeah. I think it's pretty impressive. And it just tells me that Mega Hulk, Apex, they can both walk into the Monsterverse no problem and immediately challenge Godzilla's top spot. Here's Apex on your left and Mega Hulk on the right. They're going to clash. It's a pretty good fight. Apex actually was coming out on top, by the way. He needed, Hulk needed help. So Sam operated the Mighty Avenger mech and fired what it's kind of like a rocket punch in a way, and it scores a direct hit in Apex, distracting him long enough for Mega Hulk to vaporize Apex. And again, Apex just he just survived not just survived, but tanked a multi-megaton explosion like it was nothing. Yet here's Godzilla. Sorry, Godzilla. Here's Mega Hulk pulling a Godzilla and vaporizing him with his atomic beam. Okay, so now we're going to get into Godzilla, and this is going to be fun. Okay, so this is from Godzilla 2014. It's when a giant skyscraper falls on him, and, you know, rough calculations I've done puts this, the skyscraper in the maybe 300,000 ton range. So having a 300,000 ton skyscraper fall on you and Godzilla got up like he was fine is pretty impressive. But now the durability feat that a lot of people are more familiar with, and this is what I just briefly talked about. Godzilla getting hit by Casso Bravo, which is 15 megatons. It is a pretty damn good durability feat. Unfortunately, Mega Hulk, currently his durability feat's more impressive, but they're both pretty much in the, hey, I can laugh off a megaton nuclear warhead department. Here's another shot from Godzilla King of the Monsters in Godzilla's lair. Circled, you can barely see him, but that's weak Godzilla after surviving the oxygen destroyer. And he gets nuked. And that's him once again withstanding another nuclear weapon, which makes it, well, consistent. Oh boy, so this is something we need to talk about real quick. Legendary Godzilla fans, we've brought this up many times in the Godzilla Awakening graphic novel. Godzilla gets hit by an asteroid, which is responsible for initiating the Permian extinction event, at least in the Monsterverse. Godzilla survived this no problem. The calculations of just how much power is here could devastate a continent, possibly an entire hemisphere. I just want to point this out and say it is an outlier. Godzilla's Awakening status as being canon has been called into question. It's been pretty much, I'd say it's been debunked at this point. And I am going to take a hard stance on this one and just say this, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not factoring this feat in. I think it's just a bit too much. And until the day that we see Godzilla Awakening once again be considered canon, I don't have any reason to accept it as a valid feat. So far though, Godzilla Dominion maintains its status as being canon, so I'm gonna include it here. We see Godzilla being able to have a global awareness, a planetary level awareness, where he can feel and communicate with all the other Titans. Now you might be wondering, why are this is evolved Godzilla, why am I going through like legendary Godzilla when, you know, in his base forms and so on? Well, I'll get to that when I bring up evolved Godzilla again. I'm almost there, but I'll just say that it's good to pretty much establish what Legendary Godzilla is capable of before we get to his super form. And a lot of these feats are pretty noteworthy. For example, here's Godzilla powering up Kong's battle axe. Kong takes his battle axe and just smashes it into Godzilla's head. And the resulting blast is so powerful, it sends Kong hurling through the air. Kong, I think in the MonsterVerse, he's estimated to be in the 90,000 ton range. So that's pretty impressive. Real quick, let's do a comparison. Here's Kong striking Mechagodzilla with the battle axe. All it does is create sparks. So Mechagodzilla is, he's durable enough to withstand a pissed off Kong wailing on him with his battle axe. But when the battle axe is charged by Godzilla's heat ray, oh man, that's when Mechagodzilla, he's panicking. That's when his arms and legs are just cleaved right off. Godzilla, on the other hand, he's knocked out very briefly, but he does not suffer any noticeable damage. So that's pretty, I'd say Godzilla, just base level, Godzilla is more durable, comparatively speaking, to, say, the likes of Mechagodzilla. So that's a pretty good achievement right there. Also, from Godzilla Dominion, we could see a couple things happening in this shot. First, Godzilla healed these wounds within moments. Legendary Godzilla's healing factor, his regeneration, has been kind of, questioned in the past, because they don't just focus on it much, and honestly, he's very rarely wounded. But here we see him wounded by Scylla, and he heals within moments. Another thing to realize is that this was in Godzilla. This took place during Godzilla Dominion, which is post Godzilla King of the Monsters, but right before Godzilla vs. Kong. Scylla was able to wound him then, but when they meet again for a rematch in Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire, Scylla, her claws can't hurt him, which means Godzilla's durability, which was already pretty godlike, has improved. All right, this is what we've all been waiting for, right? Okay, no, we're waiting for Evolved Godzilla still, but we got to get through this part. So this is Godzilla's signature attack, his heat beam, also colloquially known as the atomic breath, but Toho doesn't like calling it that anymore. But regardless, here's Godzilla blasting the 140,000 ton Ghidorah nearly off his feet. In fact, in a previous shot, he actually did manage to topple Ghidorah with his signature weapon. So it's not only hot, as I'll break down to you in just a second, but it also wields immense concussive force. So in Godzilla vs. Kong's opening credit, the opening credits state Godzilla's heat beam radiates 25,000 degrees Celsius and generates nearly 315 terajoules of energy, which is about 5 times Hiroshima. This information is corroborated by empirical evidence, which I am going to share in just a moment, but I do need to note Godzilla vs. Kong's opening credits are not always right, as it falsely claimed Godzilla was 164,000 tons. So it's good to be skeptical, friends. Here's a really cool shot. From hundreds of meters underwater, Godzilla's heat ray instantly blasted through an aircraft carrier that was durable enough to support Godzilla and Kong's combined mass. More on that aircraft carrier in just a second. I think this angle proves an excellent lens on scale. I mean, look at it. Most live-action Godzilla heat beams don't hold a candle to this shot. I mean, that little tiny guy there standing that you see, that's Kong. Yeah. Most Godzilla live-action beams, typically once they hit their target, in this case a battleship or an aircraft carrier, they usually just ignite and blow up, but they never really they never punch through or burn through the whole thing. But here Legendary Godzilla's beam just blasted right through it like it wasn't even there. And oh boy. Okay, so we're gonna get to, I talked about earlier how I think Godzilla -1's heat beam is like one of the most powerful live action Godzilla beams, but man, this one takes the cake. It is called the Hollow Earth Driller, as it's, I guess, more commonly known. And yeah, I'm gonna go full on nerd here, man. The calculations on this beam are incredible. I know some other Godzilla fans will strongly object. They'll say, no, Heisei Godzilla has a more powerful beam, or maybe Final Wars Godzilla. Sorry, not sorry. Legendary Godzilla's feat here takes the cake. It is thousands of times more powerful than Heisei or Final War Godzilla's average two strongest beams. Here's my proof. It took Godzilla's heat beam approximately 3 minutes to reach the Earth's core, which, and this is a low ball, 1,800 miles. It could have been more. That's burning through 10 miles of solid rock per second. Already we're looking at a feat. If Godzilla just fired for a single second, already burning through 10 miles of solid rock, that is just far more impressive than anything Heisei Godzilla ever did. A low-end calculation puts this beam at generating around 850 gigawatts of energy per second, which is equivalent to 200 kilotons of energy. A high-end calculation is even more insane. This means Godzilla's beam could be generating 90 petajoules of energy per second. That is the equivalent to 21 megatons of energy, which is still a little bit less than what I estimated to be for that Gamma bomb that went off, that Mega Hulk and Apex Hulk tanked earlier. But again, this is a beam of energy wielding like 21 megatons worth of power behind it that's striking you every single second. So I think there's a massive difference here. I think this feat is it outclasses Mega Hulk's best durability feat, in my opinion. Also, there's the slight possibility that in order for it to reach Hollow Earth, Godzilla's beam may have blasted into a separate reality. Here in Kingdom Kong, a Monarch scientist does begin to, analyze the data that he has, and just based on his readings here, he thinks that there's an electrostatic membrane that separates our reality from, and before he's cut off, he was going to say from Hollow Earth. Alright, so here's a big one, and I kind of almost thought about making this an outlier, but in Godzilla vs. Kong, Godzilla had a beam war with Mechagodzilla. Mechagodzilla won. His proton scream scored a direct hit and visibly wounded Legendary Godzilla, which is extremely rare to see, as you can see the image here. But this was taken from the Godzilla vs. Kong novel. It states, Godzilla wasn't out though. He planted his feet and unleashed the energy beam that had tunneled through the Earth's crust and mantle to Hollow Earth. But the robot thing let loose its own energy beam, a red one, meeting and overpowering Godzilla's, blasting the Titan back through multiple buildings. Like I said before at the very start, empirical evidence, especially what we see in the movie itself, the main canon, takes top priority. And anything secondary evidence, like from a novel, is, well, just that. I mean, you could maybe argue we didn't really see Godzilla, be blasted back through multiple buildings, but what's being stated here is that Mechagodzilla was able to match Godzilla's best beam feat, which was blasting a hole into the center of the Earth. And not only that, but Godzilla survived. So as far as durability goes, I mean, if you could take that, and again, I did some calculations not too long ago, like here, at minimum, he's taking 200 kilotons of energy per second, or 90 petajoules, 21 megatons of energy per second. So, wow. Wow, indeed. Back to 2014, this is when Godzilla lifted the female Muto, who weighs about 60,000 tons. So basically Heisei Godzilla. And yeah, Legendary was able to lift that up with one hand. So pretty strong. You might be thinking Godzilla is really strong in this picture, but obviously I'm more impressed by the aircraft carrier, who is the real Titan in this shot. Hulk should count himself lucky that he's not fighting the aircraft carrier. From Godzilla Aftershock, the Muto Prime was able to release a sonic high-pitched scream that shattered his dorsal fins. Godzilla managed to, get under the Muto Prime and unleash his atomic power. And Muto Prime, he's about 135,000 tons, just shy of King Ghidorah's 140,000 ton golden butt. And yeah, Muto Prime was sent flying by this sort of energy. So yeah, another energy feat for you. Here's from Godzilla vs. Kong, where he's feeding off of a nuclear power plant. I've said it before and I'll say it again. What makes Legendary Godzilla the most powerful live-action Godzilla yet is the fact that he is such an energy sponge. A lot of Godzillas absorb radiation. It's nothing new, but the fact is, I think Legendary Godzilla is more tactical about it. He absorbs more energy in a faster rate of time, and it makes him a threat, especially to other nuclear-powered monsters, like Mega Hulk. According to the novel, he also, after doing this, generated an EMP that affected a 30-mile radius. So, Iron Man better hope that he's not in the nearby area. I just love the shot. I had to include it. I mean, look at him. Big, beefy, strong, supercharged boy. Interestingly, after doing this, he kind of starts looking like Burning Godzilla, but instead of, emitting that orange-hued glow, he's still blue. So it's kind of like he's close to being able to control it. He just needs another upgrade. All right, everybody, we finally reached it. It's time. The whole point of this segment is to discuss Evolved Godzilla versus Mega Hulk, and Evolved Godzilla is here. Now, one big reason why I wanted to talk about Evolved Godzilla, well, besides the fact that he's quickly become one of my favorites, a big reason why is because everything we see Evolved Godzilla do, for the most part, I'm not convinced that he needed to attain a new level, a new form to do it. A lot of what he does, I kind of still think to this day that Legendary, in his earlier forms, especially what we see at the start of Godzilla Kong: The New Empire, I think he could have done, on his own. However, upon researching this for this video, for this stream, I really went all out, and I found some compelling evidence that Evolved Godzilla is, well, evolved. See for yourself. So let's start by looking at Monarch's calculations here, shall we? I'll take my cam away too. There we go. So Monarch scanners show that for Godzilla's skin, his molecular density has increased, which means enhanced durability. We don't know what level, to what degree, so I'm not going to speculate that. But, it's clear that he is far more durable, and I will get to a good example on that momentarily. Adaptive thermoregulation is useful against Shimo's frost breath and would have mitigated the hazardous effects of Godzilla's burning form. So this is already an upgrade. It also means that the next time Godzilla, maybe he needs to fuse with Mothra again, he's going to be able, or, while simultaneously absorbing the power of a nuclear explosion, he's going to be able to harness that energy and not not blow up, essentially. He won't become a ticking time bomb. Speaking of Shimo's frost breath, it's a very powerful attack. It's capable of freezing atoms. She's considered a world ender. She could trigger ice ages, and yeah, as we'll see soon, Godzilla can actually withstand that point blank. So it's kind of like the equivalent to getting hit by Kiryu Mechagodzilla's Absolute Zero Cannon and being able to immediately recover, which evolved Godzilla is capable of doing. He's durable enough to take attacks that are cold enough to freeze atoms. Absolute Zero. And his body's thermal regulation is able to immediately melt away the ice, and he can keep fighting. This is something that a lot of you, I'm sure, are familiar with, but Godzilla's energy capacity has been magnified 20 times. I've done some figures on this. It kind of depends on just how much energy he was able to generate previously, but given how he can blast a hole to the center of the earth, and before this upgrade, but now he can hold 20 times more energy. I have no idea what to expect now. I can't wait to see it in the next movie. Evolved Godzilla is pretty powerful. I mean, at this point now, with 20 times more energy storage, he can really begin to cut loose. And it's still a wonder that he didn't accidentally blow up more than what he actually did blow up. So good on him. I thought this is a great shot with him jumping, and I did it just to show how far he can jump, but also consider the incline. Of course, he's going to move a little bit, further away from the mountain because he's jumping down from at a downward angle. So of course he's going to cover more space. But you can see the trail of the dust up there, and you could see that he's still able to jump a pretty good distance. Roughly I think he's about 150 or so meters long, so that's pretty impressive. Okay, so here's something crazy, okay? Evolved Godzilla's swimming speed is comic book levels of crazy. Within a few minutes, Godzilla swam 2,800 miles from Gibraltar to Giza. That would make Godzilla's swimming speed 33,600 knots. For a high-speed comparison, swimming 33,000 knots that's like flying at Mach 50 speeds. Obviously, I think this is an outlier. I just thought it was funny and I had to share it. I hope you liked it. It's an outlier because, well, we can plainly see in the movie that he's not actually swimming that fast. So, yeah. In a full sprint, Evolved Godzilla supported Kong's added weight, which again is estimated to be around 90,000 tons. Kong was perched on Godzilla's left side. It didn't slow Godzilla down. Estimates put Kong... Oh yeah, I already read that. Even more impressive, Godzilla jumped hundreds of meters into the air, with Kong leaping off of him soon thereafter. That's pretty impressive. I mean, if you've ever had somebody... if you had... Try to carry somebody who's around your weight on top of your shoulders for a second. It's probably not going to feel comfortable at all. Now have them try and I don't know, hold on, have your left shoulder support their entire body weight, and that's not going to feel great at all. But imagine if you were strong enough to not only support them, but you can carry them, and then you can run. You can go into a straight sprint while holding them on your left shoulder, and then they can jump off of you after you jump. It's pretty insane, actually. Here's a shot of where Godzilla catches Scar King's whiplash. Scar King's whiplash, by the way, it's made out of the vertebrae, the spine of a warbat. Warbats, while not the most durable titans around, they're still, they're a titan, so it means their bones are pretty dang durable. And of course, we've seen Titan bones be used to forge super weapons before. Kong's battle axe, for example, was made from a Godzilla relative of some kind, so that's why it was able to absorb his heat beam earlier. But right after catching it in his mouth, he shattered it like it was nothing. In Godzilla vs. Kong, Godzilla slapped Kong down with his tail. He was hyper aggressive at the time, so you could tell he was trying to hurt Kong. And we've seen Godzilla slay the male Muto as far back in 2014. He's also tried to whack King Ghidorah with his tail as well, which didn't seem to do noticeable damage, but it was enough to slap Kong down. But here in Godzilla x Kong, Evolved Godzilla sent Scar King flying with his tail, which is proof that there's a chance that Godzilla's physical strength has improved. In a blink and you might miss it, after Godzilla just starts blasting at poor Shimo here, you can see residual energy just burning on her neck. Poor Shimo. More on her in a sec. I mean, we're not finished with her, but man, poor Shimo. With Jesus watching, Shimo was able to fire her frost beam into the sky. She was doing this to trigger a new ice age, a new world-ending event. More on that. I'm bringing this up. But, okay. So here we see Godzilla firing his beam, and he essentially negates Shimo's weather storm. Some people might think that this means Godzilla's beam can single-handedly stop a world-ending storm, which means his beam is potentially world-ending. There's just no proof of that at this time. I mean, Shimo's storm didn't become a threat to the whole world just yet. I mean, claiming otherwise would be like, I don't know, going out into the woods and starting a camping fire or something, and then, thinking, oh man, this could potentially, burn down the whole forest, and you put it out and then try and brag that you put out a forest fire. It just doesn't work that way. So at the start of the battle, we see Shimo standing here out at sea, but she's standing on a huge mass of ice, and you can even see some of it beginning to break out of the water here, and it's extremely thick ice. And the reason why I'm pointing this out is because I think this is Evolved Godzilla's best beam feat. Godzilla's beam from under the ice blasted. It strikes Shimo in her chest, and it hits her so hard she flips all the way over onto her back, hundreds of meters away from where she was shot. Evolved Godzilla's beam packs considerable force. It's extremely powerful. And again, while I'm not saying Godzilla couldn't have done something similar, before pre-evolved state, I mean, at the very least, he's still just as strong as ever. And this is a pretty good beam feat. Here's my verdict. For the record, Evolved Godzilla inherits legendary Goji's feats, which is why I started the way that I did. But taking Mega Hulk down won't be easy. Both Atomic Spawn Titans will be constantly absorbing the other's attacks. In terms of strength and close quarters combat, Godzilla has the edge. However, Mega Hulk's strength and durability are comparable to the heavy hitters of the Monsterverse. I think this is a close one, but I think ultimately Godzilla wins, as his strength, fighting skills, and ferocity are more impressive than Apex, who actually had Hulk on the ropes before the latter received outside help. Godzilla has the energy reserves to absorb more energy too. While both Titans will be absorbing the others' energy attacks, Godzilla will ultimately fare better than his opponent. Next up, we have IDW's Godzilla from the IDW main continuity, taking on Hulk 616. I'm gonna take a moment to catch my breath. Woo! Man, oh man. By the way, if you haven't already, feel free to leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, if you're, did you know 95% of you watching are not subscribed? That's pretty intense. That's crazy. But yeah, if you're liking what you see, feel free, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Again, it's okay to disagree. We all have our different ways of like going about these things. So let me know what you think. I really like to hear from you guys. And you know what you say might actually, you know, change my mind, and you might end up seeing some of this revised in the near future. Ooh boy, I gotta say, these next couple are they're a doozy, because we're getting into comic book territory. So a lot of things are gonna pop off. All right, we're gonna start with Godzilla. So back in Godzilla Kingdom of Monsters, Godzilla was hit by a nuke. It was launched by a nuclear submarine, and you know, rough estimates put, you know, the average nuclear submarine missile containing like anywhere from 120 150 kilotons worth of explosive power. So yeah, Godzilla survived this, no problem. It's how he got his heat beam in the story as well. I wanted to include this because I don't know, I forget all their names, but the evil Mothra fairies, they tried mind controlling Godzilla, but Godzilla did not take kindly to it. And he can resist mind control, and these two were pretty formidable. They were able to control Batra and Rodan, who, speaking of which, took Godzilla and dropped him into a nuclear reactor. And I really loved what they did with Batra at the start of this series. Batra with his prism beams after this shot at the nuclear reactor and ignited it, and as you can see, it's a pretty powerful nuclear blast. Godzilla, of course, survived this, so he can consistently deal with nuclear level explosions, but as we'll see soon enough, there is a limit to that. But first, in Godzilla Rulers of Earth, Destroya attacked Godzilla, who had recently fed off a nuclear reactor. But the thing is, and before I get into this, I just want your guys' thoughts here. So IDW Destroya and movie Destroya are not the same creature. I have to ask, if they're not the same exact character, but you know, they are, well, the same, but they're not the same. The one that appeared in the comics is not the one that appeared in the 1995 movie, is pretty much where I'm going with this. Is IDW Destroya's laser horn equivalent, weaker, or stronger than its movie counterpart? Remember, movie Destroya's laser horn nearly cut Meltdown Godzilla in half. So the question is, can the comic book Destroya do it too? And really, I think it could. There doesn't seem to be much of a difference, and I'm going to talk about this again shortly with another character, but I don't really think there's any proof that it's weaker. I don't think there's any proof that it's stronger either. So at this point, I'd say this is on par with movie Destroya's laser horn, which is impressive because IDW Godzilla caught it, and even though he's bleeding from his hand wasn't actually chopped off, and quite the opposite, he then proceeds to snap Destroya's horn clean off. It's a badass moment. So yeah, already, I mean, this Godzilla can withstand nukes. He can pretty much withstand Destroya's laser horn without losing his hand. I mean, he could catch it, you know, with his bare hand. What else can this guy do? So, as I talked about earlier, here's Kiryu Mechagodzilla, and in the Godzilla ongoing comic book, Kiryu scored a direct hit on Godzilla with his absolute zero cannon. Godzilla was out for a moment, but he did get right back up, and he was completely undamaged. But not all Godzillas are equal, including ones that look the same. example here is IDW's Godzilla. It's using the Heisei design, but that doesn't make it the same Godzilla, which means they don't share the same feats. The same standard applies to Mechagodzilla. So is IDW Mechagodzilla's Absolute Zero Cannon comparable to movie Kuryu's Absolute Zero Cannon? I love these questions. I don't have the exact answer, but similarly to the Destroy a Laserhorn one, I don't see any proof that it's weaker or stronger, but it could very well be comparable. But see, the difference is it's called the Absolute Zero Cannon in both the movie and in the comic. So unless there's evidence that it's vastly weaker or so, I have no trouble accepting it as being comparable. So yeah, this Godzilla is strong enough to also withstand absolute zero temperatures. Hence the green check mark. Yay, no outlier. Woo! Back to Godzilla and Batra here. They did have a beam war here that triggered a massive explosion that knocked out both Godzilla and Batra. I really do miss how Batra was originally depicted as being Godzilla's near equal. But the point of this scan is to show that even this Godzilla has limits, and this explosion was able to knock him out. Similarly, after absorbing energy from Godzilla's heat beam, this version of Mechagodzilla was able to use its plasma grenade, and likewise, it was able to incapacitate Godzilla for an extended period of time. Finally, in Godzilla Rulers of Earth issue 12, Godzilla is incapacitated by 3 nuclear weapons, and if memory serves, Godzilla was comatose or hibernating for 5 years because of this. So we at least have a limit to this Godzilla, and it's important to remember that limit. 3 nukes. We'll come back to that in a moment. Oh, this is funny because Godzilla, Monster X, and Space Godzilla had a beam war, and well, it did not go well for them. Don't cross the streams, but still, it's pretty impressive that Godzilla survived this. Okay, so Godzilla can not only this Godzilla can not only tank nukes, he can seemingly unleash them. His heat beam, when he's charging up and when he's really pissed off, can be in the nuclear level. Now here's some interesting comparisons here. So Batra, like I mentioned, is pretty much Godzilla's near equal, at least in Kingdom of Monsters. Here, Batra and Titanosaurus are teaming up on Space Godzilla, and Space Godzilla absolutely stomps both of them like they're nothing. So I guess it's a good thing Space Godzilla wasn't there during Kingdom of Monsters, or he would have, well, stomped Godzilla just as easily. And on the right side here, we see Kiryu Mechagodzilla fire the Absolute Zero Cannon, which does nothing to Monster X. Monster X completely no-sells it. Now, why am I doing this? Well, for starters, Godzilla was able to completely devastate Space Godzilla with his heat beam, meaning Godzilla at this point, despite all of his power from Kingdom of Monsters, his power has increased significantly. Not only that, but his heat beam was also able to hurt Monster X, who again just tanked Kuryu's Absolute Zero Cannon like it was nothing. And there are definite flaws in this this next example, but I felt the need to bring it up. The humans were using actually managed to briefly contain Godzilla using black hole energy. And then we actually see Godzilla's heat beam begin to, slowly push free and break it open, and before completely, breaking free. And you might think, oh man, he's so strong, he can break free of a black hole containment field. But again, it started actually experiencing power failure. The scientists wanted to shut it down. It it was failing before Godzilla did anything. So, but I felt the need to bring this up just in case anyone was interested. In terms of strength, I mean, Godzilla's strong enough to, you know, just grab Destroyer by the tail and completely slam him over his head. Like, he could swing Destroyer around like nothing, and that's pretty impressive strength, you know, as far as super strength goes. But it gets better. The giant beast there that's like 300 meters tall, that's Magita. I think that's how you say it. Magita. So if you're like, isn't it Magita? No, I think it's Magita. Magita. The final boss in Godzilla Rulers of Earth. The Overlord Queen of the Trilobites, who were trying to assimilate Earth's monsters and even Space Godzilla, taking their powers and physical attributes and turning into a, you know, scary hybrid. Scary hybrids of them. But they managed to, Godzilla and his friends rallied, and now they're taking on this massive towering beast. And as they're fighting, I want you to pay close attention to the alien spaceship on the left side here. It's coming down. It literally just flew from space at high speeds, and it strikes Magita. Magita obviously doesn't like it, but she survives this unscathed. She takes no damage here, and while all the other monsters are pretty much out, they are pretty much some of them look like they're dead. I mean, Kumonga looks like she's about to die. But Godzilla, he's the only one last standing. In fact, it says right here, the king rises, which he was still knocked out by. In fact, you could even see him in the lower right corner here. After Magita got hit by the explosion, you could see him being flown back. But he actually rises up, and here he kind of goes Super Godzilla, channels all his energy, unleashes a hyper spiral blast right into Magita's face, and then he's now strong enough that he could catch her. And again, her claw here, I mean, she was like just effortlessly sending other kaiju flying with her attacks. Here Godzilla catches it, and now his strength rivals her own, and he unleashes a massive atomic blast. And yeah, he manages to win, but all the other monsters notice that he's pretty much out. A lot of people thought he was dead, but they take him out to sea, and here in the top corner you can see that he's still alive, signaling that he is the ruler of Earth. Okay, now on to Hulk. Hulk 616 is a beast from the original Secret Wars. Here you can see he's supporting 150 billion tons. That's already pretty much above Godzilla's pay grade, I'm not gonna lie. Here's another crazy example from the good old days where he's actually holding a black hole. Some of you might be begging me to call this an outlier. It probably is, to be honest, but I couldn't resist. And of course, when it comes to black holes, everyone's going to be like, but Godzilla survived a black hole, and oh boy. More on that maybe another time. As far as other strength feats go, I mean, here's Hulk pulling tectonic plates. He can hold them together. He can break them apart. Tectonic plates are billions of tons, so that kind of holds up to his Secret War feat. And when Hulk really cuts loose, he can pretty much not only smash planets, but blow them up like Death Star, Alderaan level. I know I'm going through this a little bit faster than Godzilla, but I kind of feel like this all pretty much is giving you an idea of where this fight is quickly heading. Here's Hulk fighting the Sentry. The Sentry is basically the Marvel's most, like, I think their most recent Superman take. Only the Sentry is, well, he's crazy, but also crazy powerful. I mean, this guy he's considered to be one, I'd say in the top maybe 5, maybe top 3 most powerful superheroes on Earth, and definitely one of the most powerful characters in the Marvel universe. And Hulk can actually, in his in his world breaker form here, actually won this fight. To give you another idea of just how insane the Sentry is, here he is just flying through and busting open a moon rather casually. And also, Hulk was able to go up against All-Father Thor. Being an All-Father means Thor has inherited the Odin Force. Odin, for the longest time, consistently one of the most powerful beings in the Marvel universe. And Hulk was able to duke it out and give Thor, All-Father Thor, not only a good fight, he pretty much could have won. Here's Hulk going gamma nuclear and triggers a massive gamma explosion. Tony Stark survives this, but only because of his celestial tech armor. Celestials are cosmic beings. They're shaper of worlds. They're extremely powerful. And Tony Stark, of course, acquired celestial tech to build a giant suit of armor, of course. And here's some interesting information. It's revealed that approximately 3,000 gamma bombs just went off. That's what we just saw right here. That's the equivalent. That is 3,000 gamma bombs. Now remember what I said earlier. 3 nukes was enough to incapacitate IDW Godzilla. What would 3,000 gamma bombs do? I kind of feel like that just about ends it. But first, what I will say is what it did do to Thor was turn him into a Hulk. And he would go on to smash. But that's a story for another time. Alright, so my verdict. Godzilla's heat ray ranges from being Heisei tier of explosiveness to triggering nuclear explosions. He's immensely strong, capable of overpowering foes that are several times larger than he is, like Megiddo. Unfortunately, Hulk at this point in his long career is a physical powerhouse. He's casually destroyed planets, stalemated the Sentry and All-Father Thor. And, well, I didn't show this, but I will soon. He can overpower the likes of Thanos. Shattered chains. Okay, a lot of this is kind of a spoiler for the next chapter, but you get the idea. I think the Hulk just wins that. But now, let's go to the next part. What about Godzilla from the Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong crossover? How does DC Godzilla compare against Fractured Sun Hulk? Let's take a look at Superman. We're gonna scale off Superman here. Superman, in a very awesome issue written by Scott Snyder in his Justice League run. What happened was the World Forger created a pocket universe where Superman was left to rot. After being in the dark for a long time, a weak Superman finally managed to build up strength, and in a single bound shattered the planet. Here's Superman punching Godzilla, laying it in, and Godzilla just completely tanked Superman's punches like they were nothing. Superman thought he could use his speed, and even then, Godzilla managed to tag him with his tail. Here's Shazam using his lightning. Shazam's lightning, by the way, comes from the DC Universe's Zeus, who is a vastly powerful being. And Godzilla, well, it clearly bothers him. I mean, heck, in this shot it goes through him. But Godzilla recovers very quickly, and very few beings can get hit by Shazam's lightning and just shrug it off like it's nothing. In an iconic moment from this crossover, Godzilla and Superman engage in a beam war. Notice how Godzilla's heat ray stalemates Superman's heat vision. How about a quick comparison? In one DC Justice League issue, an alien beam struck the Earth, and as you can see, the massive impact crater here, and Cyborg would reveal that the beam blasted them 12 miles below Canada. This weakened Superman, not to mention the other members of the Justice League. Now, I did a calculation earlier on Legendary Godzilla, so this is roughly on par with getting hit by Legendary Godzilla's Hollow Earth Driller. But here's what's really interesting, and here's how this makes this version of Legendary Godzilla even more powerful than his movie counterpart. Take a look. We see Superman. He is currently in the Earth's core. Sadly, the DC Earth does not have Hollow Earth. It has a similar core to our Earth. And what he is doing is trying to stop an alien sphere, a device that is unraveling the planet. At first he tries to use his heat vision, but he can't because it's hotter in the center of the Earth. And so his heat vision is redundant. I think that's really quite interesting. Superman is durable enough to withstand the center of the Earth, but as we will soon discover, he's not durable enough to withstand a direct hit from Godzilla's heat beam. But before I get to that, I'm going to point out these devices, these alien devices, have a diameter of 5 miles, and in such crazy, insane levels of pressure and heat, Superman manages to overpower not one, not two, not even three, but 4 of these devices, to the point where he even manages from the Earth's core push it all the way up out of a volcano to the surface. That's how strong and durable Superman is. And that's how immensely powerful Godzilla's heat beam is, because despite all that, despite being able to stand up to his heat vision, despite being able to withstand the center of the Earth, Superman cannot survive Godzilla's heat beam. This did technically kill Superman, but he would get better. And I thought we should definitely talk about this. Let's talk about this. So, Superman was hit by Godzilla's beam, and yeah, it killed him. I mean, there was no sign that he was still alive. So, desperately, they teleported him to the surface of the sun, where he could recharge his cells with solar energy. He was there for a while, but as Lois observed, he was recharged and then some after his miraculous recovery, his return to the land of the living. So this Superman at this point is stronger than he was at the start of the story. But here's a quick comparison. When Superman was lost in that pocket universe the World Forger made for him, he had been there for so long without light that he became kind of like a shriveled, gaunt corpse. Still alive, but he's not looking very good. But as soon as he came across suns, just by being in the near vicinity of light, he immediately started healing and quickly flew through one star, and when he emerged out the other side, he felt better than whole. And I think this, at this point, is comparable to what we just saw with him in the Godzilla crossover. But very soon he immediately starts flying, taking off, and he flies through so many different suns. It's insane. And at this point, I think definitely Godzilla has not fought a Superman at this level yet. This is kind of what happens when, you know, he takes more than a sun dip, though. He becomes like a Superman. I don't know, something like a Super Saiyan. Those that understand the nature of my joke, hopefully you found that amusing. But Superman at this point is insane, and after like getting super amplified by I don't know how many suns, he delivers a punch to the World Forger, who's the brother of the Universe Eater Anti-Monitor, and the resulting punch is felt. It sends ripples through the 6th dimension. This Earth is not the main Earth, by the way. It was created by the World Forger, but Superman's punch not only shatters fragments of the 6th dimension, it also leaves a massive continental-sized crater. So yeah, Superman's pretty OP. He's pretty powerful. And here we see, returning to the Justice League Godzilla crossover, a solar amped Superman goes down, punches Godzilla, and before Godzilla, he shrugged them off like Superman's punches like they were nothing, but here he's, you know, knocked on his back, on his scaly butt here. It's a shame we didn't see a rematch at this point, because Superman kind of needed Godzilla to help clean up Lex Luthor's mess. But yeah, I mean, the fact that Godzilla was able to just take that right hook like it was nothing, get right back up, and he's not that hurt. Again, this is a supercharged Superman. To put things into perspective, is pretty impressive. Now, here's something that's interesting. Superman during this time had in his possession the Dreamstone, and he's going to later use this to send Godzilla and Kong and all the other Titans back to the Monsterverse. But the Dreamstone, it's one of the most powerful artifacts in all of fiction. I mean, I would rank it way higher than even Marvel's Infinity Gauntlet. It's like literally the power source of Dream of the Endless. It's an insane artifact. And so I kind of wonder if, you know, Superman being a good guy, he could have easily stopped Godzilla from the start with it, but he didn't. I thought that that needed mentioning. All right, folks, we're getting near to the end here, so I'm gonna have to kind of begin to speed through. But we've gotten to Hulk here. Hulk, this is the Fractured Sun Hulk. He's the current one, and if you haven't yet, I strongly recommend that you read Philip K. Johnson's The Incredible Hulk comic book run. It's really good. And what makes him, he's pretty strong for many reasons, but here he's taking on Thanos. For many years, I'd say Thanos was far, you know, he was stronger, he was more powerful. I don't even think Hulk could take him. For example, here's here's Thanos just effortlessly like taking his son Thane and just flying through a planet, just casually blowing up a planet as a side effect of his power. Here's the Silver Surfer, Herald of Galactus, pretty powerful guy, shooting Thanos point blank with his strongest power cosmic blast, and Thanos just shrugs it off like it's nothing. Here's Odin, Sky Father, All Father of Asgard, Thor's father, taking Thanos on, and Thanos is durable enough to stand up and resist Odin's power. I do think Odin would have eventually won this fight. Thanos does not look like he could keep fighting, but it is just a testament to his durability, to his power, to his strength, that he was able to go toe-to-toe against Odin. Here's Black Bolt. When this guy screams, he's tearing holes in the fabric of reality, and Thanos actually survives a point blank scream. He actually tanks, well, not tanks, he is actually, I take that back, he is wounded, but he does survive and manages to get in close and stop Black Bolt. Here's Thanos resisting reality warping. I'll give you guys a second to take all this in. And even crazier, he actually managed to have a run-in, not with an unstable nuclear device, but a black hole. Not that he, managed to, resist a black hole with ease. He clearly needs medical attention, but Thanos of Titan is durable enough to survive a run-in with a black hole. Here's Hulk from Jonathan Hickman's Infinity story. Hulk tries to get the jump on Thanos, and Thanos just right hooks him without trouble. So this was, I think, around circa 2014, 2015. So not that long ago, if you think about it. Hulk was still nowhere near Thanos's weight class, his power scale, his level. But nowadays, well, Hulk is caught up to him, and here's Hulk literally breaking Thanos' back, and a few scans later, he's gonna actually seemingly finish the job and take out Thanos for good. Arguably, this version of Hulk's most impressive strength feat is the fact that he was able to break apart chains forged by the first firmament. The first firmament is basically, well, the first multiverse. It's like, cosmic beings like eternity. He's the embodiment of the universe. Well, the very first one was the first firmament, who made chains that were supposed to be unbreakable, but Hulk broke them, as we could see. I'm sure some of you might be confused by the imagery that you're seeing. Trust me, you gotta read Philip K. Johnson's The Incredible Hulk. All this would make more sense. I'm just here to talk about power levels and feats and such, so. However, here is Hulk taking on one of his newest villains. This being is called the Eldest. She is, well, I take it more as the creator of shapeshifters, many, many monsters. She is truly terrifying. She is dangerous. She's powerful. Hulk actually managed to take her down. But even more impressive is Eldest's mother. As she put it, from the one above all, that's the god of the Marvel multiverse, sprang all creation, and all things within were made and governed by his will, save the single spark of life that from no creator, only from itself, the mother of horrors. End quote of Eldest firstborn of the mother of horrors. For eons, the mother of horrors concealed itself and ancient earth from the one above all. When he discovered this blasphemy, the one above all was so enraged, he hulked out, becoming the one below all, who then imprisoned the mother of horrors. But right now, Eldest and pretty much all of the other monsters of the Marvel universe are currently trying to get Hulk in order to free the mother of horrors. Let's hope, pray to Mothra, the mother of horrors, doesn't get released anytime soon. I actually am hoping she is. That would be awesome. Okay, so now we're talking. Okay, so Godzilla. This Godzilla is one of the most powerful Godzillas around. Top 5 easily. When we power scale to Superman, he's my number 2. Generally, I'd favor Superman over the Hulk, but Hulk has bulked up significantly in recent years. It takes Superman and the Justice League to contain the likes of Thanos, and I don't like their odds. I actually think Thanos could definitely overpower Superman and the Justice League by himself. Hulk, however, took Thanos down by himself. Hulk also stalemated Allfather Thor, who is demonstrably above Thanos. In fact, in the Donny Cates Thor run, we even saw Allfather Thor take on Thanos and Doctor Doom at the same time. So my point here is that both Godzilla and Hulk are super team busters. Who's stronger? Well, here's an apt comparison. Hulk broke chains forged by the first firmament. Godzilla couldn't break a shackle made of nth metal. Hulk has dented and shattered adamantium. I think with these comparisons in mind, Hulk is stronger than even this incredibly strong version of Godzilla. Now, that doesn't mean the Hulk wins. I mean, I think Godzilla's heat ray could definitely KO him. I mean, it killed Superman, and honestly, I think Superman is still more durable than even this version of Hulk. For these reasons, I'm currently abstaining. I don't think I could see this go on. I can honestly see this go either way. But hey, Godzilla vs. the DC Universe Round 2 is coming again this summer, so maybe we'll see new feats. Oh man, are you not entertained? Oh man, we're coming on 2 hours. We're almost there. Let's keep it up here, shall we? So we have finally reached the final round. The strongest version of Godzilla taking on the strongest version of Hulk. Holy moly. First, in order for me to talk about just how strong Godzilla in Hell is, I have to do a little bit of housekeeping. So there's been some debate about the chronology of the Godzilla in Hell miniseries. Some people believe that the very first issue, issue 1, is the very beginning of the story, and that issue 3 is just another tale told in Hell. I not only disagree with this, I can prove that Godzilla in Hell issue 3 is the very first story in the Godzilla in Hell miniseries. It's the catalyst for Godzilla going to Hell in the first place. This is very important later. I have to prove this first and foremost, because by doing so, I can prove that this Godzilla is even more powerful. First, my evidence. Prior to the comic's release, we had a number of publications detailing issue 3's synopsis, which read, "What brought Godzilla to Hell?" This implies issue 3 will answer that question, meaning the obvious takeaway here is issue 3's story takes place before the events of Godzilla in Hell issue 1. Also, Buster Moody, a really awesome guy, by the way. I had the pleasure of meeting him a couple years ago at the Emerald City Comic Con. Great dude. He's issue 3's artist illustrator, and he believes the beginning of issue 3 takes place on a kaiju war ravaged Earth. Notice how he said Earth and not a level of hell. Here is my evidence. Top Scan is official publication. What brought Godzilla to Hell? So in a way, this is a prequel, or at least it gives you an idea of how the whole Godzilla in Hell series started. And of course, Buster Moody's quote at the bottom here. Okay. All right, let's get down to it. So according to one of the writers, and I apologize, I couldn't find who, but I remember reading this. But if you want me to prove this, I will do more research and come at you with an answer here. But according to one of the writers, Space Godzilla destroyed the moon on his way to Earth. As you can see, this secondary evidence, it came from the writers, checks out, and we can empirically prove, yes, that is indeed a destroyed moon, and if they say Space Godzilla did it, that's proof enough. So Godzilla and Space Godzilla are the sole survivors. They're the last ones standing on a kaiju war-ravaged Earth. Space Godzilla unleashes his destructive cosmic energy. It strikes Godzilla, and as Godzilla is set ablaze, over here on the far left side, we can see him closing the distance before finally getting up close and personal with Space Godzilla, blasting Space Godzilla at point blank. Now both Godzillas are burning. Godzilla is still standing, placing his foot on Space Godzilla's chest, seemingly victorious. Godzilla then shoots Space Godzilla when he's down. Space Godzilla, he responds back with his own beam of energy, and the two beams collide, setting off a chain reaction that destroys the entire planet. Mysteriously, Godzilla wakes up in what we will later learn is heaven. So it would appear that, for the longest time, I thought Godzilla died from this blast. But evidently, Toho has a rule, and some of the IDW writers, my friend Matt Frank, verified this as well, that they're not allowed to have Godzilla die in their comics. And while I don't believe in the no limits fallacy, that doesn't mean if we pit Godzilla up against a even more powerful cosmic being that, Toho says he can't die, therefore he's not going to die. No, I think he would, I don't think this Godzilla could survive like a super black hole or something. But that does give us a clue. That means Godzilla survived the Earth being blown up. But then the question becomes not only how did he get to heaven, when did he get there? I think this answers our question, how did he get there, or more accurately, who brought him there? And this is the God Mountain, aka God. But I'm going to call him God Mountain anyway because, I've read that's how, some of the writers refer to him as. So this answers the question, how did Godzilla get to heaven? Besides being a good little monster, unlikely, there are a few possibilities. Godzilla died, or God Mountain teleported him there either before or after Earth's destruction. We can rule out Godzilla dying because the creators have confirmed they can't kill him. And we also didn't see him die on screen, so that doesn't check out. Which means God Mountain must have teleported Godzilla to heaven. But when exactly? So on the top left, you can see panel 1. On the top right is panel 2. I think either A, God Mountain teleported Godzilla sometime before both Space Godzilla and Godzilla were swallowed by the resulting energy blast that would immediately expand and destroy the Earth, or God Mountain teleported Godzilla to heaven after the Earth blew up. Okay, so Godzilla fans, I know exactly what you're thinking. I know what choice you want to pick. You want to pick choice B, because that means this Godzilla is durable enough to withstand the entire Earth blowing up in his face. Godzilla can pretty much stand up to the Death Star. Death Star could hit him with its planet-busting energy weapon, and Godzilla would still be there smiling. That's what you want. Sadly, options A and B are inconclusive. We simply don't know. I'm going to leave it to your own discretion, Godzilla fans. You can decide for yourselves. At the same time, however, I think we can confidently prove that Godzilla's power is equivalent to Space Godzilla. This was important because that means Space Godzilla, since this whole thing took place on the actual Earth, that means the actual moon, not some fantasy or some weird place in hell where the physics could be weird. That means Space Godzilla destroyed the actual moon. Godzilla's power is equivalent, hence the power scaling involved here. Back to heaven. So God Mountain wants Godzilla to pretty much convert and join him, serve him, submit. Godzilla does not take kindly to that. Godzilla does not like being controlled. After all, he's got God in his name too. So God Mountain tears open a hole in space-time and sends Godzilla to, you guessed it, hell. It's there he would be confronted by a hell-empowered Space Godzilla, and the two would have another battle, but then God Mountain would send his heavenly forces down and they would supercharge Godzilla. And, well, as you can see, Space Godzilla's own Corona Beam, which is, we already know how powerful Space Godzilla is, yeah, reflects off of Godzilla and just blows him to smithereen, and Space Godzilla is decorated all over the place. God Mountain tries once again to convert Godzilla, stating, hey, we totally helped you in your victory against Space Godzilla, so now you can serve us in our battle against Hell, right? Godzilla turns around and blasts at God Mountain. So, another issue here is some fans believe that this Godzilla is so OP. He took out God. He totally took him out here. The problem is, there's no evidence of that. We do not see what happens to God Mountain. All we see is Godzilla blasting at him. And at the very least, Godzilla's power here, well, it's not just his power. Remember, he was amplified by, well, God Mountain. And he clearly no longer has it since he's no longer glowing here. Looks like he uses it all in his energy blast. But at the very least, he closes the portal to heaven. So the trip to heaven, any way of escaping hell to heaven, is closed. So yeah, I say again, there's no proof that Godzilla at this point is so OP he can kill God. Or, well, again, that also opens up another can of worms, which is essentially just so I'm not here all night talking about it. Not all gods are equal, just like not all Godzillas are equal. There are some gods, sure, they created the universe, but then if you're familiar with Preacher, you find out, well, his power source comes from an omnipotent chair or something, and he has to sit on it in his throne in order to have full power, in order to be omnipotent, and even then he's not truly omnipotent. There's just basically no evidence that God Mountain was wrecked by this attack, injured in any way, shape, or form. At the very least, God Mountain wants nothing to do with Godzilla and kind of knows that Godzilla is going to go around and cause massive, massive chaos in hell anyway. And we now come to the very beginning of Godzilla in Hell, but since we've been going in a chronological order, this is what happens next. Godzilla falls from a great height, and he's confronted by a giant, abandon all hope, ye who enter here. This is like several hundred meters tall and thick. I mean, it's a pretty big sign, and Godzilla just blasts it down into smithereens like it's nothing. I mean, just look at all that rubble right there. I mean, already, as far as energy attacks go, this Godzilla's power is pretty immense. I mean, I think while obviously he's not pulling out moon-busting levels of energy here, it's clear that this Godzilla has a lot of energy and a lot of energy to spare. Interestingly, during his journey through hell, he's confronted by a massive, massive storm cloud of humans who have gone to hell. I've read some ideas that these could be all the humans Godzilla himself has killed over the years. I don't know, but when we saw what Earth became in issue 3, again the start of the story, there didn't appear to be any humans left. So it's possible that here they are, and God Mountain, being a massive dick, probably sent them all to hell anyway. Not even Godzilla can stand up to them, and in fact, he really struggles here and just waits for the storm of, howling human souls to pass. We get to Bob Eggleton's pretty amazing issue 2 here, and I felt the need to bring this up because, well, we gotta tie up another loose end. As I've already aptly demonstrated, God Mountain is the one that sent Godzilla to hell. We literally saw that. But because that took place in issue 3, people thought someone else is responsible for sending Godzilla to hell. But as I've already proven that issue 3 is the start of the story, what about this part in issue 2? In issue 2, Godzilla comes across and is confronted by King Ghidorah. And it says simply, the reason the Leviathan was brought into this horrific netherworld. Fans take that as, wow, King Ghidorah is the one who brought Godzilla to hell in the first place. And even though that's implied, there are other ways we could infer that actually differently. But since God Mountain is responsible for sending Godzilla to hell, my read of this is Ghidorah brought Godzilla to a pocket of hell where he has dominion. Again, the Godzilla in Hell series it was written by multiple writers. There's a lot of a lot of things are up to interpretation. It's quite nebulous at times, so you could interpret this however way you see fit. But that's my take, or that's my headcanon. Here's by the way, Hell Ghidorah is pretty dang scary powerful. I mean, it took only a few of his gravity beams to send Godzilla packing or sinking to the next level of hell. Considering Godzilla powered through Space Godzilla's cosmic onslaught earlier, Hell Ghidorah's attacks must be apocalyptic in comparison. I do believe Godzilla surpasses him by the end of the story, however. And real quick, there's a level. This is further proof that I don't think King Ghidorah is the Lord of Hell, or even the one that brought him here, because we later see him and Destroya fighting Godzilla in this, what seems to be more like purgatory, if anything, where they keep dying and healing and fighting again and again. Godzilla himself loses his head, but then he walks over and he's seemingly regenerated his whole head within moments. That's pretty stupendous, but I also can't really prove Godzilla did this on his own, since we see Destroya and Ghidorah healing from their wounds as well. I can't tell if it's really Hell that's healing them or if they're healing on their own, under their own power. But I kind of see this as Godzilla doing it, because it lines up later with what we see him do near the end of the story. As a little this could be a low showing, it's pretty embarrassing, but we see Godzilla getting impaled on what appears to be the Tokyo Tower. I mean, for someone with godlike durability, this is pretty bad, but I see it as being hell. I mean, just about any structure here seems to be extremely, far more durable, nigh indestructible than it should be. I mean, it takes Godzilla, Destroya, and King Ghidorah combining their power here just to break this wall. So, alright, finally we're getting to the near end here of Godzilla. What makes this Godzilla the most powerful? Here we see in the final issue, Godzilla gets consumed by millions, possibly billions of hellbats. They all eat him down to his skeleton, but Godzilla just imposes his will on all of them. You could even say he possesses the demons as opposed to the other way around, and he reforms his body. Godzilla then manages to take all these hellbats, and every single one of them, he funnels his atomic energy, unleashing the ultimate atomic beam of atomic beams, blasting a hole straight up to atop of this mountain, eradicating this mysterious tentacled Leviathan, this hell creature that may or may not be the true ruler of hell. We don't really know for sure. Again, it's a little ambiguous, but Godzilla vaporizes it, and at that point he marches up, and you can even see just how big of a crater, a trench his beam just carved. So that's a lot of power right there. And he walks up, and here's where we get to this Godzilla's greatest feat. We see water, which can only mean one thing and one thing only. Godzilla not only returns to the land of the living, Godzilla has single-handedly created the land of the living along with a new body for himself. Godzilla has recreated the Earth that was destroyed in his battle against Space Godzilla and has completely recreated his body. This Godzilla's reality warping powers are impressive. They are just... I never thought I'd see the day when a Godzilla could warp reality, but here we are. Now on to Hulk. Oh boy, man. Whew. This is going to be insane, guys. So speaking of reality warping, this is Franklin Richards. He's a little boy, and he can create a universe in the palm of his hands. Later, adult Franklin Richards can, with one punch, kill a mad celestial. Celestials, again, are cosmic beings. They wield just immense power. I would argue a single celestial could definitely give Godzilla hell a good fight, likely even win. And here's one of the most OP, amazing, badass moments in all of comics. Franklin Richards resurrects Galactus and makes him his herald. So I'm doing all this just to give you an idea of just how freakishly powerful Franklin Richards is. We cut away 2 billion years in the future. We see this strange, scary-looking Bruce Banner speaking to the sentience of the 8th universe. And this Bruce Banner reveals he killed Franklin Richards 2 billion years ago. Same way I killed Craig, who's Mr. Immortal, and your Galactus, and all the rest of them. The sentience of the universe sadly asked the question how, to which this guy hulks out in a scary Hulk way and proceeds to chow down and eat the sentience of the universe alive, absorbing his power. Oh wait, I love this quote right here, by the way. There are 2 people in every mirror. There's the one you can see, and there's the other one. Al Ewing, who wrote the Immortal Hulk series, by the way, is just an amazing writer. In the distant future, the One Below All consumed Bruce Banner's soul and possessed the Hulk's body. With it, the One Below All killed Franklin Richards, Galactus, Mr. Immortal, and the rest. After consuming and absorbing the power of the 8th sentience of the universe, the One Below All transformed the Hulk into the Breaker of Worlds. Billions of years later, it wiped out all light and life in the 9th cosmos. Here is Hulk wandering through space, and moons just explode as they come into contact with his cosmic form. Here's Hulk just punching a planet in half, doing so casually. I mean, literally the entire universe is fragile to this Hulk. Also, scale is meaningless to him. He can increase his size indefinitely to the point where he can literally just snuff the life out of a sun, a star, in the palm of his hands. That's because he's powered by the One Below All. And I know this is really gruesome. I'm going to move things along. Answer the question, who is the One Below All? Well, let's answer that. So, an Immortal Hulk, who we see in this this frame here, he confronts the One Below All. It's here he's asking, it's here that Hulk's future of becoming the Breaker of Worlds becomes less of an absolute. Regardless, it's a potential future, and Marvel is full of different timelines, alternate realities. Hulk, as he is here, is arguably just as strong, if not stronger, than his Breaker of Worlds variant, who we just saw. Hulk right now is asking the One Below All, why? Why have you made my life miserable? Why do you do this to Hulk? Why do you cause me so much pain? Red Hulk also demands for the One Below All to answer him, to which the One Below All dissolves and goes very well, revealing that he is the one above all, the very god of the Marvel multiverse. This is easily one of the most epic scenes and just crazy moments in a comic. I lost my mind. My mouth dropped when this was revealed. So, sorry for spoilers. When asked why, the one above all, aka Marvel God, goes, because you are my child. You are my creation. You are necessary. There is weight and there is counterweight. Where were you when I laid these foundations? With these hands I build, with other hands I break. I break to build anew. Have you my strength? Have you an arm like mine? Would you build or break? You are my creation. I made you the counterweight. To ask of you, and of course Hulk not know. Hulk, so I feel so sad for Hulk here. But the one above all keeps asking, are you Gebera or Galachab? And what of chastity? What of mercy? Now, this is taking away from Kabbalistic mysticism here, but Gebera represents discipline, strength, justice, and righteous wrath. So God is basically asking Hulk here, are you, do you represent strength? Are you righteous wrath? Or are you like Galachab, which is the dark counterpart? It's basically uncontrolled rage and destructive fury. God continues, what will you become? For the left hand is strength, to which Hulk responds, Hulk not understand. But eventually he does, and he offers one of his villains a chance at mercy, and Hulk offers him forgiveness. Because the right hand is mercy. To which I say, forget Deadpool. Hulk is the real Marvel Jesus here. If you're confused, what basically happened here is it's revealed Hulk is the avatar of the one above all's divine order and the one below all's chaotic fury. Whew, that was a lot. So who wins, Godzilla Hell or Hulk Breaker of Worlds? My verdict here is, well, Godzilla Hell and Hulk Breaker of Worlds are the most powerful incarnations of Godzilla and Hulk, respectively. Godzilla Hell's greatest feat is recreating not only his body, but restoring the Earth. Hulk is the literal embodiment of the one above all strength. When possessed by the one below all, which is God's Hulk form, that's what the one below all is. When God hulks out, like how Bruce Banner hulks out, well, he becomes the one below all. Hulk killed Franklin Richards, a universal reality warper who sadly puts Godzilla Hell's reality warping feats to shame, not to mention slaying Galactus before consuming the universe. Breaker of Worlds Hulk trivially shattered planets and crushed stars. I'm sorry, Godzilla fans, but the strongest Hulk beats the strongest Godzilla, as he literally wields the power of Marvel's God. And I know people might say, but Godzilla Hell killed his god. Yeah, but again, not all gods are equal, just like not all Godzillas are equal. And Marvel's god has way better feats. All right, so now what everyone's been waiting for, right? Well, first, let me just say, guys, that was a doozy, wasn't it? I hope everyone had fun. I had fun doing that. It was a lot, so feel free to go through, make any corrections. If there's something you disagree with, fire away, let me know. But who do I think will win in the upcoming crossover? Well, honestly, it's kind of hard to tell because, well, as the cover art suggests, Godzilla's design might be Showa, but I don't know if that means, they're going to really go through with Showa Godzilla's design or not. Also, that doesn't mean Showa scales up to whatever the variant ends up doing. It just means this Marvel Godzilla 2.0 will be treated as his own creature. Anyway, I don't know if there is going to be a winner. You never know if they just have them tie or not. But if they do, let's just say if there is a winner, I don't think the outcome will be based on feats. I mean, remember, writers rightfully do not care about power levels, scaling, feats. And if the fight is contained to a single issue, it might end up being relatively short. with that being said, I think if there is a winner, it will likely be via knockout and radiation absorption. And since it's the second issue in a 6-part series, even though it takes place during potentially different time periods, I'm going to predict that Godzilla wins, since his war against the Marvel Universe continues after this. And I don't think if such a thing is happening, that he's going to be taken down by a single hero. Okay, guys, holy moly, this has been like what? Oh, where are we at? Nearing 2 hours. I'm exhausted. 2 hours and 22 minutes. Oh my gosh. Okay. Wow. So if you stuck through with me this long, I think you're the strongest there is. You guys are amazing. You're the best. But I need to go. I need to go rest. But I hope everybody had a good time. My name is Tom. I hope you enjoy the rest of my channel, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.